What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review of a movie that just came out on digital called Last Night at Terrace Lanes. It's a bowling horror movie. I'm intrigued. Saw the trailer for this bouncing around somewhere online. You know, I subscribe to just about every trailer page on YouTube, as well as surf the social media. So I kind of saw it and I was kind of interested because they add an element in here of a cult. And I thought, maybe this might be kind of good. Now, there's a couple of bowling horror movies. One of them that I remember is Gutter Balls, which is far more sleazy, far more exploitative than this movie is. But let me tell you all about it. So Last Night at Terrace Lanes is essentially about a cult that is on their final night of their executing of a plan to bring the alignment of the stars together, and the bowling alley happens to be the one place that they will finish their final tasks and soar into the metaverse or whatever the hell they're worshiping. There's a girl who's on a sort of date from hell. She's on a date with a girl that doesn't really know that she likes her. So they're going out to hang out, and she invites her friends along, the other girl. They go to a bowling alley where one of the girls is actually been to a million times with her father. He actually works there. And so her friends, her dad have to fight off the cult from the apocalypse. Now, I think it's a little bit more grandiose in my brain or imagination than I was getting in the film. I think I was expecting this movie to go a little bit farther with like some sort of twist at the end. And I don't think we got that, unfortunately. This is a little bit more straightforward than I was hoping. It's not even a slasher, so to speak. It's essentially just all these cult members who are dressed in like blue jumpsuits with a white mask, which, you know, I think is actually a pretty clever idea to do when you're making an indie film, is to kind of have some uniformity with that kind of thing. It really is an easy way to really get the point across, especially with like a cult or something like that. So I had no problems with that. There was a character in the movie that was wearing like this like bowling pin that I thought in the trailer was going to be something more than he was. I won't spoil that for you, but I just was kind of hoping that that would be like a lot of the comedy in the film, because in the trailer, it really made it seem like that was going to be the funny bit that was just going to keep popping up throughout the movie. Like when you watch these horror comedies, there's always like that bit that just keeps popping up along the path of the movie. And then finally, you know, you see the bit end at the end. But, you know, that didn't really happen here. It was kind of just a thing in the movie, and it was just kind of added in there. Now, this is a movie that is directed by Jamie Nash, who, if you are familiar, is actually quite the producer. He does some writing and he also directs, of course. He did a movie that he directed called Two Front Teeth, and also like a horror anthology that's called A Comedy of Horrors Volume 1, which I'm kind of curious to check out. It was also written by Adam Cesare and Jenna St. John, which I think the girl characters in the movie were pretty decent. Essentially, these two girls are on a date. Everything that's gotten in the way of this date that they're supposed to be on. Like, the girl invited her friends. There's a cult that happens to be killing everybody. It's weird because this movie puts that in there, has the time and the effort to put that in there, but doesn't drag it out throughout the entire film. Kind of feels like it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that these two were on a date. The first act is all about them, and then it just disappears until the end of the movie. That really bothered me. It felt like it just didn't matter to begin with, and that I spent that entire act wasting time for something that was another story that they decided to kind of shoehorn in, which, you know, the beginning of this movie felt kind of, you know, fun, and it felt like it had its good shots, and the somewhat of the comedy was a little, it was okay. I could ride with it. I wasn't exactly dissuaded from watching it, hoping that some of the funnier bits would come in later. But the beats just did not hit. And that's very important for a comedy. But that's okay. I've seen plenty of comedies that don't, really hit the beats all that well, and they are still kind of silly and fun as long as they bring the gore and the terrible jokes, right? Like an example that I could use, and this is nothing like this movie, by the way, is Jack Frost. It's a terrible movie, but it's so bad it's good in a way that it's like fun to watch all this ridiculousness and sort of moderately bad acting unfold as this killer snowman goes around killing people. In this movie, it doesn't really have the strength of the comedy to carry it, so it sort of leans on the cult, which is interesting, and the cult member becomes tiring a bit, and it doesn't lead to anything spectacular. It kind of just becomes a little boring. They do focus on the daughter and the father, which is interesting to a degree, but I felt like this needed to be a little bit more involved than it actually was. The leader of the cult, which was pretty menacing for the most part, just kind of ended up being a little silly by the end of the movie, which, yes, this is a silly movie, but that Jack Frost, the Killer Snowman movie, is so silly and so ridiculous that you just kind of have to laugh along with it. This movie didn't do any of that. When all the tragedy and everything hits off in the movie, when the cult goes crazy and their watches go off, I was expecting a hell of a lot more of a ride than we got. A lot of the kills were off camera. A lot of the kills seemed kind of disorganized, almost like they hadn't prepared to do the scene. And then I was like, okay, well, at least maybe the story will change by the end, and this cult, there'll be some sort of redemption with somebody, but the movie never really spends the time with any characters long enough to develop a sort of camaraderie. There are many different characters throughout the whole movie in different parts of the bowling alley, but they just seem like throwaway characters because they never really spent the time to build them up and build this like fun sort of camaraderie. And they focused on all the parts that didn't really matter too much that they never ended up using at the end, like spending so much time with the girl and the other girl on their date, but it didn't seem to matter. Perhaps maybe the characters could have been developed better. And at the end, I was hoping for some sort of big twist, and it just wasn't. So unfortunately, it just didn't work for me. Maybe it'll work for you, but for me and my particular tastes, I was really focused on the girl in the beginning, and they just kind of left her to be, and that really bothered me for some reason. And then the cult really didn't turn out to be as much as I wanted to be, and the jokes just were not as strong as they needed to be, or the gore was not there to carry this film. So unfortunately, I would probably say this is like a 3.5 out of 10, maybe a 4 for me. I bought the ticket. It is for rent. I paid $7 for mine on the Microsoft network, so it's through Xbox, but you can rent it on Vudu if you want for $4.99 in HD. I would definitely wait to see it in like streaming, because I'm sure it'll pop up on Tubi or something like that. It just wasn't for me. Sorry to say. But yeah, thanks for coming by, guys. I would love to hear what you think about this. Did you see this trailer? Did you see it in the store? Were you curious about it? Because the cover looks really cool, and the trailer actually looked pretty fun. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button. We delve into everything. We do new, old, physical media. I'm going to be doing a room tour here and eventually, so we got a lot planned for you. And if you love Lovecraft, well, this is the spot for you. But thanks for coming by, and as always, long live the void.